In this video, we're going to be covering the information on pages Word 32 and 33, in which we're going to find and replace text. The Find and Replace feature in Word allows you to automatically search for and replace all instances of a word or phrase in a document. For example, you might want to substitute tour for trip. Now, to manually locate and replace each instance of trip in a long document, that would really be time consuming because you'd have to look for, and it's very possible you may miss some. Of course, using the replace command, you can find and replace all occurrences of a specific text at once, or you can choose to find and review each occurrence individually. You can also use the find command to locate and highlight every occurrence of a specific word or phrase in a document. Now, if we look on page 32 and look at step 1, it tells us that on step 1, it wants us to click the replace button in the editing group, and of course that is on your home tab. So when we click on the replace button here in our editing group, this is going to open up the find and replace dialog box. Then also in step 1, it tells us that we want to click on the more button in this find and replace dialog box. Now, of course, if any of the search option checkboxes are selected in your Find and Replace dialog box, you want to make sure that you deselect them. Now, if Format appears under the Find What or Replace with text box, you want to click in the text box and then click the No Format button. Step 2 tells us that we want to type luncheon in the Find What text box. So we go here to Find What, and we want to type in the word luncheon, and that is with a capital L. And of course, this is going to allow us to find luncheon, and that's going to be the text that we're going to replace. Step 3 tells us we want to press our Tab key on our keyboard, and that's going to move you down to the next text box, which is the Replace with text box. And we're going to type in lecture with a capital L. Now, lecture is the text that is going to be replacing the word luncheon. On step 4, it tells us that we want to click the match case checkbox in the search options to select it. So we go down here and we click on this match case. Now, selecting the match case checkbox tells Word to find only exact matches for the uppercase and lowercase characters you entered in the Find What text box. Now, you want to replace all instances of luncheon with a capital L in the proper name Travel Luncheon series. Now, you do not want to replace the word luncheon with a lowercase l when it refers to a lunchtime event. So use that match case when you want to specifically match all of the letters, their case on there. It will find the word, but it will overlook it if the case is a little bit different. Next, on step 5, it tells us that we want to click on Replace All. A little pop-up box that comes there, and this has told us that it's all done, and it made 3 replacements. Now, of course, when we click on that Replace All, it changes all occurrences of luncheon to lecture in the press release. And a message box, which we see on here, reports 3 replacements were made. Now, of course, if you want to find or review and replace each occurrence individually, instead of clicking on, we can click on the OK button here. We could click on Find Next, and that would take us to the next word. On step 6, we do want to go ahead and click on our OK to close that message box. Then we want to click on the Close button in the Find and Replace dialog box, and that is directly to the right of the Find Next. And we can take a look, and we notice that Word did replace luncheon with lecture in 3 locations, but did not replace the lowercase luncheon. In step 7, it tells us we want to click on the Find button in the editing group. So when we click on the Find button on there, this is actually going to open up the navigation pane, which is used to browse a longer document by headings, by pages, or by specific text. The find command allows you to quickly locate all instances of a text in a document. Now here we're going to use it to verify that Word did not replace the lowercase l luncheon. Now, of course, alternatively, you can use the Find tab in the Find and Replace dialog box, in which we just used a little bit ago, to find text in a document. Step 8 tells us that we want to type luncheon in the search text box in this navigation pane. Now, of course, that word may already be there, but you want to make sure that it is a lowercase l. And of course, as we type into this, the word luncheon is going to be highlighted and selected in the document. Now, of course, you may want to scroll up on your document so that you can see the headline at the top of your window. So you want to scroll up just a little bit, but you'll notice that the word luncheon with the lowercase l is still there. And of course, it is highlighted for us. Step 9 tells us that we want to click the Close button in the navigation pane. And of course, notice it also deselects the word. And then we want to press our Control and Home key to move our insertion point back up to the top of the document. Now, of course, when you're navigating a document using the navigation pane, you can also use the Go To command. And of course, rather than scrolling to move to a different place in a longer document, you can use that navigation pane to quickly move the insertion point to a specific page or a specific heading. Now, to open up the navigation pane, you can click the page number button on the status bar and click the appropriate link in the navigation pane for the type of item you want to use to navigate the document. Of course, to move to a specific page, section, line, table, graphic, or other item in a document, you use the Go To tab in the Find and Replace dialog box. On the Go To tab in the Find and Replace dialog box, you want to select the type of item you want to find in the Go To What list box, enter the relevant information about that item, and then click Next to move to the insertion point to the item. And that concludes the information that is located on pages Word 32 and 33. You may want to take another look at the Find and Replace dialog box, because we talked a little bit about the match case and what that does. However, we also can use this to where we find whole words only. And that is where you can find complete words, and that is going to find the complete word instead of maybe if this is part of another word. We also have use wildcards, and that is where you can use a little star or an asterisk in a search string to find things on there that maybe you don't fully know about or how to spell something on there. So it allows a wildcard character to be input in. Of course, you can also have the sounds like English, and that will find words that sound like the Find What text. And then finally, we also have on there the Find and Replace all forms of a word on there as well. Of course, you can also match the prefix, the suffix, or you can ignore punctuation or white space characters as well. And that concludes this video, and in our next video, we're going to be looking at checking the spelling and grammar of this document.